It's important to remember that soil is an ecosystem, it is a habitat, and so we need to treat it as such, and if we treat it well, it will treat us well. It may seem like your garden is asleep right now, but imagine with me for a moment your summer garden, the abundance, and imagine one that basically grows itself and doesn't need a whole lot of tending. That's my goal for 2026, I'll tell you that. And that garden starts now with your soil. I will be sharing in today's video some things you can do to achieve living soil in your garden with sustainable techniques to improve your microbiome in your soil. So you might be wondering, what exactly is living soil? How do you know if you have living soil? And then if you don't have living soil, how do you achieve it? So we'll be answering all those questions in today's video. So one of the first things that we need to discuss is what exactly is living soil. To understand that better, let's first talk about what the basis of soil is. So soil, if we take out all the microorganisms, all those little, critters that are moving around in the soil, if we take all those out, the basis of your soil is organic matter and weathered rock fragments. So that is the base of your soil. And then within that, you have all these other living organisms within your soil. And those living organisms is what makes your soil living. So when we say living soil, we want organisms and microbes and all those wonderful things that just make this wonderful soup, I guess you could say, this beautiful, rich, dark soil, the type of soil that will feed your garden without much input. Close your eyes for a minute and imagine a forest floor. And just think about what you would experience if you were to take your shoes off and walk on a forest floor. Some words that come to my mind is spongy, moist, rich, dark, earthy. Those are some of the terms that we can use to describe our own soil. And that is what we're aiming for in our garden, is to have soil that is rich and dark and full of life. If you were to pull back the layers of your soil, you would find earthworms and other critters moving around. You would find fungi and all these wonderful things. And that is what we find on a forest floor and what we aim for in our own garden. Now, I'm sure your question is, how do I know if I have living soil? And that is a really good question, because there are lots of tests out there. You can buy those little home kits that will test for your phosphorus and potassium and your nitrogen, or you can even send it away to a lab and know kind of what minerals and nutrients are in your soil. But those things don't really tell you what your living situation is of your soil, how active your soil is with the microbiome. There are some tests, and one that is very simple to do that any home gardener can do and that I have done myself, and that is the soiled underwear test. All you're going to do is take a pair of 100% cotton underwear. I used men's, and you're going to bury it in your soil. And you want to check it after 60 days to see what it looks like, because believe it or not, the microbiome in your soil really loves cotton. They will eat it if they come into contact with it. If you dig up your underwear and you find that a lot of it is left, then don't despair. These tips will improve that outcome. And you can maybe retest in another year or two, and I bet you'll get really good results. I did an entire video on the underwear test. I was pretty happy with my results, and I'm going to link it right up here. As home gardeners, there are three things that I feel like every gardener should try to do as much as possible to help really achieve that living soil that we all want. Regardless of what soil type you have, these things can still work with your soil. In fact, they will improve whatever soil you have. If you have really sandy soil, or if you have really clay soil like I have, I'm literally standing on pure clay right here. There's hardly any drainage in this part of my garden, which is one reason why we have raised beds, so we can avoid that issue and have better drainage. But even if I decided that I wanted to grow in the ground, these tips can be applied for in-ground gardening. It can apply for raised bed gardening. You can see my little monkey in the background. Okay. So now the question is, how do you attain this living soil? The main thing that you need to do is to add organic matter back to your soil. After the end of a season, your soil is depleted of a lot of nutrients, and the fall through the early spring is the best time to really work on your soil. Organic matter is anything that is carbon-based, that was a living organism that is now in a particular stage of decomposition. So in this particular case, we're talking about a lot of plant matter. You can also use manure, which is animal based. I don't use a lot of manure in my garden. I do have ducks and chickens that we will add their manure to our compost pile, but in general, we don't apply a whole lot of manure to our own garden. We do a lot more of these other things that I'm going to be talking about. One of the easiest ways to add organic matter to your soil and to keep it covered is to apply mulch. I am a huge fan of mulch. When I started applying mulch to my garden, I noticed immediate changes, especially in the summer. I wasn't having to water quite as much, but it's especially important in your winter climate to keep your soil covered. It maintains the temperature of your soil, so it helps protect those microbes. As your mulch slowly decomposes, it actually improves and conditions your soil, and it gives those microbes something to feed on as well. I like to use straw. It's usually pretty reasonably priced, and there's lots of it, and you can apply it everywhere. Sometimes there are weed seeds in your straw, so there are places where you can get weed-free straw. It tends to be a little bit more expensive, but if that's important to you, then definitely try to find that. Here's an example of a bed that I applied leaves on. Honestly, I prefer leaves over straw in a lot of ways. Leaves can sometimes be a little harder for me to source, but I have a neighbor who will give me a lot of his leaves. I love leaves because they are a great conditioner for your soil. As they slowly decompose, they improve the texture and the porousness. I don't think that's a word. The porosity. There we go. That's the word. The porosity of your soil. So they're basically creating a lot of air pockets and spaces for water to get through, and for your microbes and worms and other things to kind of move around and not be kind of stuck and just too compacted. Now I'm going to take you over here, because on this bed I have, as you can see, hopefully you can see it, I have wood chips in my blueberry bed. There is concern that if you apply wood chips to your garden, that it will tie up your nitrogen, and so that you will become nitrogen deficient in your soil. Couple things to keep in mind with that. I think it is safe to apply a small layer to your garden as long as you're not digging it into your soil. If it's just on the top layer of your soil, it might make that top layer a little nitrogen deficient, but as long as you are not digging it and tilling it in, should be fine. And it is actually, my recommendation is to use it around perennial plants. So in this case, I have it around my blueberries. I also have it all around my perennial plants, that like my shade garden and ornamentals. Don't be afraid to use wood chips in your garden. Just apply a small layer and then make sure that you're not digging it into the soil. Tip number 2 that I think everyone should be trying to apply in their garden is cover cropping. This is my absolute favorite, and I have more videos that I hope to be sharing as we enter into fall this year about how to utilize cover crops in the fall so that it'll be working through the winter. But if you're seeing this video and right now it's January and you're like, hey, it's too late for me to plant cover crops, it's actually not too late. You can still plant them. You may just have to do more of a spring cover crop before your other crops are going to be planted. Right here I have a mixture of different types of crops. I had it was a mix, so let's see, I think it was rye, winter pea, hairy vetch, and clover. And I terminated this already. It is trying to grow back. So what I'm going to end up doing is putting smother it with putting a tarp over it to really let it die. But the wonderful thing about cover crops is that they improve your soil so much. They condition your soil, they improve the texture of your soil, while at the same time, some of the things like, for instance, the peas that I had planted in this pot, they are going to fix nitrogen into the soil. So if your soil is depleted after a whole season in the summer in this bed I had potatoes, and at one point I had corn, the cover crop is going to replenish a lot of those nutrients back into the soil. As it decomposes, it's adding all those wonderful things for the microbes to eat, and the microbes absolutely love it. I have been doing cover crops in my garden for several years now, and a lot of people, especially home gardeners, are afraid to use cover crops because they're afraid that they won't be able to really completely terminate it. And so I have a full video that I'll link up here for you to look at, to hopefully as you're watching it, you'll see that it's not as scary as you may think it is. I've had great success using it, and I tell you what, the soil under here is amazing, and I'm going to show you how amazing it is. I'm going to actually dig a little bit up and show you how rich and dark and beautiful it is. Now, I haven't actually tested this yet, so let's see. I'm pretty confident that it's going to be good. Oh yeah, look at that, rich, beautiful soil. If you want to try a spring cover crop, here's how you're going to do it. I would recommend for the crops, there are 3 different ways you can do them. Just one, or you can combine them all 3. I would do either buckwheat, oats, or peas. Those are the easiest to terminate, and they are just really rapid growers. So if you're going to do peas, you can plant them before your last frost date. So you can plant them up to 6 weeks before your last frost date. And they'll start growing, and then once the weather starts really warming up, they're gonna take off. If you wanna do buckwheat or oats, you're gonna have to wait till your last frost date and plant those. They are very fast growing, and you're gonna be terminating those before they flower. So they're gonna be growing for as long as you can, let them grow. Then you're going to terminate that crop. I would maybe smother it to get it to really die. And then I would just literally plant in that crop, and the cover crop that's dead will become your mulch. So you would literally just pull your cover crop aside, dig a hole in that soil, plant whatever crop you're planting. Let's say it's peppers, you plant your peppers in there, and your cover crop bits that you've chopped down and you've smothered that are slowly decomposing will now become your new mulch. So that is how you can do a spring cover crop. And so start planning for that. Whenever your last frost date is, if you think you could fit in a winter pea or one of those other 2, the oats or the buckwheat, put that into your plan for the springtime. And then definitely plan that when your fall comes around to start planting some cover crops. As soon as you're pulling out things, like from this bed I had potatoes, I pulled them up in I think late August. I immediately turned around and planted a cover crop right after, and it's doing fantastic. Obviously I probably need to do a little smothering to get it to really die, but this here will be really great soil for planting other things in. Last but not least, we cannot forget to talk about compost. Now, I have my compost system here that I love. I have a video on how we do our compost system. I'll link up above. But this stuff here, compost, I am sure you've heard many influencers and other content creators who just talk all about the benefits of compost. We all know it's amazing stuff. The microorganisms in your soil, they absolutely love compost. It is like caviar for them. So applying compost is one of the best things you can do to improve the activity in your soil, to become more like a living soil like you want. We do cold compost. We don't work on heating our compost, so it does take longer for us to get our compost because it has to settle for quite a while. But man, guys, when I get this compost, it is good stuff. You'll hear different suggestions on when to exactly apply compost. My recommendation is to apply it in the fall if you're going to be planting something in that bed. So let's say you've pulled up garlic and you want to plant something, a fall crop there. Apply some compost in that area before you're planting to kind of replenish that soil so that it's ready for the next crop. So that is my recommendation for your fall, late summer, fall plantings. Otherwise, I would mostly wait until spring. And the reason is because in the winter, at least in my area, we get a lot of rain. And so there's a lot of, the compost can be washed away, can be depleted very quickly in the winter months. So I tend to apply it more in the late winter, early spring. So the 2 ways you can apply your compost is about apply about a 1-inch layer on your soil before you plant, or you can alternatively, you can dig a hole, put a handful of compost in, and then put your plant in and plant it. Okay, so my microphone just broke, so don't mind if my audio sounds really off now. Hopefully this will work out okay. My closing statements, I guess, is that the best thing you can do for your soil is to feed it organic matter. Those 3 ways to do that, it would be for a home gardener, at least the simple ways would be to add mulch to your beds to keep them covered, to try your hand at cover cropping, and then to add a layer of compost onto your soil. So that is all I have for you today. I hope that this video was helpful as you enter into the latter part of winter and head into spring with your plantings. I hope that this gives you some information that could be really helpful as you plan out your garden and how you can really improve the fertility of your soil so you can have an abundant garden without having to do a whole lot of extra work. You notice all the tips I gave you don't require any chemicals whatsoever. No chemicals applied, no additives of nutrients and other things. It is simply organic matter that you are putting on your soil or in your soil in one way or another. Different methods. They're all regenerative, they're all easy, and usually pretty cheap to come by as well. So most everyone can use this in their garden right away. Let me know if you found this video helpful and what are the questions you have, or maybe what future videos you would like to see as I enter upon this new year of YouTube planning, what kind of content I want to create. I want to hear from you. What would be helpful for you right now? So leave a comment down below. Be sure to like this video and always hit that subscribe button if you haven't already. And if you have, you are awesome. Thank you. Thanks for watching me today. Go out and grow something. God bless.